Thank you for visiting my channel. Please do not forget to press the subscribe button, give a thumbs up for like, leave a comment, and please do share. Now today I will be speaking about guides, teachers, prophets, psychic mediums, and shamans. How do we know that they're real? And how do we tell the difference, or what's the difference between these people, these vocations, I should say. Now, as usual, I like to spend 5 to 10 minutes telling you about myself. If you're used to my channel, what you can do is just fast forward and then get to the meat of the video, so to speak. Now, let me reintroduce myself. My name is Winifred Davis. I have been a shaman, psychic medium, a traditional and spiritual healer and counselor for the past 37 years. And do forgive me if I read. I prefer, not that I don't know what I'm talking about, but I just like to read. And I don't have a teleprompter. Now, I'm also an author, an essayist, a poet, and a former spoken word movement performer. I subscribe to no religion. I'll mention religion here, and I'm familiar with many religions, but I subscribe to none. As far as I'm concerned, the world would be better off without any religion, because people use religion as an excuse to wage war and to hate others. Now, I believe in universal justice, and not the imposter justice of man. The imposter justice of man, with it, there is an exception to every rule. With universal justice, there are no exceptions to its rule. I also believe in the truth. There's no my side, your side to the truth. The truth stands unopposed. Now, I do not wish to be a leader, to lead anyone, to lead anything. And I don't want anyone to lead me. I'm not here to convert anyone or to coerce anyone to my belief or my beliefs. My duty is only to my conscience. My conscience is the light that guides my free will. Each of us was given a conscience at creation. At the same time, we were given a free will, and it is that conscience, that light, that guides that free will, and that links us back to the Creator, or what I say, that's something that is greater than us. Doesn't matter what name you attribute to that something that is greater than us. Now, I'm just a vessel, a messenger, delivering messages from the collective, which includes my guides, members of the higher hierarchies, and those include members of the angelic realm also. That's just the way it is. Now, consequently, my messages are sometimes harsh because they are the truth. And they might be brutal, we might say. But only by facing the truth, looking into our mirror of self-reflection, that we will be able to self-correct and to move forward. Now, I am a messenger, and this is the task. This is the vocation, or part of the vocation that I chose. One of the vocations, I should say, when I decided to return to this particular lifetime. This is part of my Neptunian journey, my soul contract. I'm not here once again to lead or convert anyone. Each man must evolve according to his own light. Please do not freely interpret what I say. Say exactly what I say. If you do not understand, please feel free to email me. My email address is listed below, or you can just ask me your question in a comment below. Now, if I say that the sky is blue, I mean every shade of blue. I didn't say sky blue, marine blue, navy blue, royal blue. I said blue. Every shade of blue. Now, if I also say that there is a tiny fish in a small aquarium, that's exactly what I said. Now, usually when we freely interpret and we pass the message around, by the time it gets to the 10th person, that tiny fish has indeed become a great big old whale. And a whale is not even a fish, it's a mammal, and that small aquarium has become a vast ocean, which is definitely not a small aquarium. Now, at times, I will discuss current events as I see fit because they're relevant to the truth that is reincarnation and its facts. That is what this channel is about. The truth that is reincarnation and its facts. That's my soul contract, to talk about the truth that is reincarnation and its facts. Now, this is a very special, what I call cup runneth over period of greater transition. And that type of period happens ever so often. And some people will say it's end times, Armageddon, the apocalypse, Revelation. Not really. Life will go on. And there are always smaller periods like this. But this one is special because it affects the planet. It affects, that includes the climate, the environment, and all of us. None is excluded. It's not happening in just one part of the world. It's happening all over. Now, please do not forget Gaza. The genocide and ethnic cleansing still continues there and in the West Bank. And now it's spread to Lebanon. More than 1.6 million people in less than 2 months have been displaced. And every day Israel demolishes their home. They're turning the south of Lebanon into what they've done to Gaza, into rubble. People having to live in tents. Now, if they have the chance, they would like to spread that to Iran, but they're not going to succeed. We must not forget, I dwell especially on this area, Gaza, the West Bank, what they call West Asia, the Levant, the North Africa, but especially with Gaza and the West Bank, because that's what my guides want me to dwell on, because this is a providential. The events you see, they're providential, and that's where the change in this cup runneth over period, that's where it's, that's where it's coming from. That's what's gonna change a lot of things. It's revealing a lot of things to us right now. It's separating the wheat from the tares. It's showing us who the pretenders to the throne of virtue are. showing us that they believe that they're heirs to the throne of virtue, but they're only pretenders. Now, don't forget Sudan. There are more than 15 million people there facing famine. It's horrific there. And the DRC in Congo I'm talking about. Don't forget the Congo, and don't forget Yemen. It's been a disaster for many years. Don't forget the children in all these conflict zones, whether they are children of the perpetrators like Israel, is causing so much suffering all over the world right now because we're all affected by what it and the United States has done. So, think about the children, whether they are the children of the perpetrators like Israel or the children of the victims. Because children, no child deserves to live in fear, in hunger. Every child has the right to be loved, to have food, shelter, and education, clothing, and the right to health care, to water, and the right to play and be children. Now, I have to make a comment here. If we recall, I think it was maybe about last year, I think it was, when, or the year before, when some European powers decided that they were going to gather together and they were going to, let's say, take down the Houthis because they had closed the Red Sea. And so shipping was in danger there. And they gathered together to ensure that shipping would go on. But there was no will and is no will to stop the genocide. They could all get together and stop the genocide that is happening in Gaza and the West Bank and now in Lebanon. There was no will to prevent a genocide. Think about that. Now, it was so, and it is just so simple, isn't it? Now I say, what is happening in Europe now, all this confusion, they're reaping what they sowed. That which I do unto my brother, I do unto myself, for I am what? My brother's keeper. When we see injustice, we need to speak up and speak out. And if we can do, we do. We don't have to say anything. We just do. And especially when we have great power. America is losing its hegemony, and it deserves to lose it. It has done nothing but abuse that great power. It has done some good over the decades with its soft power, but mostly it has abused that great power. And especially after the fall of the Soviet Union, when they felt that they didn't have to prove anything anymore. So that check was gone. And the bully brother, that is Israel, because remember now, England is the parent. America and Israel are its children. So that brother of America that it has enabled and abetted is causing a lot of mayhem right now. When the dust settles, and it will settle, there might be a little bit more peace in the world, at least for a little while. Now remember, this video is for entertainment purposes only. I just had to get that off my chest through the temporal lens, but through the spiritual lens, I know what is what. Now I will make a couple of comments here about past messages and the lesson history teaches us, because it's relevant to reincarnation, and we'll get to that. It is not a guarantee that had the Democrats won, that we would not be in the same state or situation with regards to the war in Iran, with which we are now faced. Maybe it might have been executed with a little more competence, perhaps, but what is to be must be. And in spite of the illegitimacy of the war, many Democrats, even in their criticisms now, act as if it is legitimate. It is illegitimate, period. America should not have nuclear weapons, neither should Israel, because they've proven themselves to be irresponsible. Look, for example, at who America put in power. The terrorist state and irresponsible state, so they say, of Iran. That state, and we don't have to agree with the repression, and I don't support any country or whatever, but truth is truth, and facts are facts, and we're not entitled to our own facts. They label Iran as an irresponsible state and a terrorist state, and they should never ever have nuclear weapons, which of course they could have if they had wished to. They had enough skills and brains and trained people to acquire those. But we're inundated and brainwashed with, oh, they're trying to get a nuclear weapon, which we know the edict that they were given not to have the fatwa, so to speak, not to have a nuclear weapon. However, look at how they've acted responsibly, even when they have been provoked for years, and especially since the war on Gaza. They have been the only responsible adult in the room. If we take, for example, Israel and America, who are the terrorists, we should ask. Now, if we look at the definition of terrorism, we will see to whom that applies. Who is committing inhumane, illegal, and horrific, abhorrent actions against innocent civilians, especially children and babies. As I said, the attack on Iran would have come from either Democrat or Republican, because it was providential. It is providential. It was just a matter of time. It's taken decades, but just a matter of times. Now I'm going to show you what I mean. Now you can look at my books and my videos that I've done. So what I'm going to read here is an excerpt that from one of my books, and also from some of my videos that I did in early 2024. Miss Harris, that's Kamala Harris, said that Iran, when she was asked, was America's greatest enemy and the greatest threat to America, which she knew was not true. So I wrote, Miss Harris's statement that Iran was America's greatest threat and enemy, that signals a repeat of the build-up, this steady drumbeat to war with the invasion of Iraq in 2003. This is to convince, now remember I wrote this in 2024, so it seems to be in the present, okay? Now this is to convince the population and give cover to get reluctant allies on board with their malign and nefarious intentions and goals, as there are now fewer who might be willing to support actively or passively this fool's errand, which is attacking Iran after the disaster which they all agreed to. But now, of course, Mr. Netanyahu, of course, he's on his own thing, and he couldn't care less, and so he didn't listen to them. He wasn't a good partner. He was doing his own stuff. So they might be willing, right, after the disaster in Gaza, to which they willingly signed up and became complicit in an unfolding genocide for the ages, and one in which they have no power to prevent. As their names will also be etched in the dungeons of infamy along with Netanyahu and the Israeli government, Joe Biden and his inglorious, amoral and immoral State Department, Pentagon, and National Security Council. No doubt they're fabricating and altering, perhaps documents seized in one very important raid, an extraction, and two others along with what spies might have provided. Perhaps they might have been fed false evidence as Iran ferreted out the spies in its camp, along with some of those in Hezbollah's camp. Now, I predicted before the pager event and the assassination of Nasrallah, spies in the camp, and you can check my videos and my books. The American mainstream media, all forms, will no doubt start billowing the smoke, adding to the drumbeat toward crusade, not to Jerusalem, but to Tehran. All the actors are the same. We have the Israeli provocateur and temptress, Netanyahu. That's what I call him, America's provocateur and temptress. The American neocons, both Democratic and Republicans, many in the EU, and note, Canada under Jean Chrétien did not blindly follow America into Iraq. That was smart. He did what he did, little bit on the side, just to calm the waters. The United Kingdom, of course, the parent now, remember now, the parent that has become the wingman and sycophant of America. Why would any rational human being believe Mr. Netanyahu after the Iraq debacle? A tragedy not only for Iraq, but for the region and America itself. Anyone who would believe him would indeed be a sucker for punishment and would deserve whatever ill awaits them. Madmen doing the same thing and expect different results. Perhaps the pace is quickening. Indeed, do not trouble Zion, for Zion has a key to open sinners' heart. Do not trouble Zion. But beware, a cat does not mouse in the manner in which it walks. In Jamaica they say, see him we a puss walk, and on the see him we a mouse. The road is indeed paved with unintended consequences. Now we'll notice as well that every day in Jerusalem, Christians are now increasingly becoming targets. Well, I've been saying that for years. It does not take 4 eyes to see this. Zionist Christians in America have enabled this because I suppose, and to be accurate about this, they do not view the brown Christians in the region, who happen to be the oldest Christians. The original ones, then, if you want to say, as they like to talk about, the real this and the real that, the real Christians, right? The real Americans are white. That's how they think. Although America was brown, thousands of years before white touched its shores. I'm speaking here through the temporal lens, because for me, that's just all craziness. These masks, whether you're white, you're black, Christian, Muslim, pagan, male, female, they're all irrelevant. If we could only see that. But we'll get to that shortly. Now, when Israel attacked Lebanon in 2024, I wrote that, and remember now, I eavesdrop sometimes. I wrote that the Europeans were loudly saying, "Be mindful, Israel, of the civilians," but in whispers. You know, when the big boys and the big girls get into their meeting house and their boardrooms, they say, by all means, go right ahead and bomb. As Israel and America, now Israel and America have a symbiotic, parasitic, reversible client-state relationship. And as they expanded back in 2024 under Joe Biden's government administration, as they expanded the wanton destruction and slaughter spree to Lebanon. Now we got to remember that. We can't just blame it all on this new administration. Joe Biden's administration has a lot of guilt in all that's going on right now. And he might have done good for America and the domestic side. But, oh my God. Now, as they expanded their slaughter spree to Lebanon and beyond on their way, or rather their crusade to Iran. Now, they've been promised that in crippling, the Europeans have been promised, and they were promised that back then, that in crippling and destroying Iran, they will cut off one of Russia's arms suppliers. Remember the drones? That turned the war that a bit. Now, I'm not advocating for any country or government, because frankly, so many of them, they're just so despicable. The things that they do, because politicians don't really care about their citizens. Very few do. And you've got to remember that. I am just stating facts here. Although some of the facts I state as facts might only be statements from most, as you're hearing it, because it's going on behind the curtains. But excluding the actors, so those are the politicians and all those planners behind the scenes, if they hear all that I'm saying, they know it's true, but they wouldn't tell you. Remember, I eavesdrop. This is a very sad and tragic charade. At this time, statements in the future will be proven as facts. Now, they will come to light, as you will see, because many of the things I have memorialized and said, given in my messages by my guides, have proven to be quite accurate. Dead on the money. For America, this is the time to settle the score. That was back then. For its decades of humiliation throughout the Middle East, and an alternative to the normalization process, now that America and Israel have shot themselves in the foot with their cravenness and cruelty in the occupied territories. Because remember now, Joe Biden, part of his thing, his administration, they really wanted to go forward, move forward with the normalization process, which was mostly, for example, in favor of Israel. And didn't care about the Gulf states or anybody else, just as long as Israel was okay. That's all they cared about. No, but it didn't go so. It didn't go the way they wished it would, because of course Mr. Netanyahu blew that all up because he's selfish, and he's the only one who is getting what he wants right now. And he's been getting what he wants for the past 2023 years, but we'll see how that goes. Now remember, this is for entertainment purposes only. Now, the Biden administration, especially its immoral and amoral State Department, Pentagon, and National Security Council, doesn't matter what members of that administration are out there saying no. They got to sell their books and give their speeches, but they're all guilty. Have reached a do or die scenario that was then, much like their cult leader, Mr. Netanyahu, a scorched earth stage, as their vaunted normalization escapade is now in the rearview mirror, and have decided to burn it all down. So when they started on Lebanon, that's what it was. Burn it all down. They no longer feel the need to pretend. Let us be clear. The state that is Israel is a supreme supremacist state. It was founded on, by, and with terror. They themselves, out of the horse's mouth, say it. It is a terrorist state, once again. It is the only state that has been attacking its neighbors for decades, especially since 1982, with the invasion of Lebanon. America gives weapons to Israel to slaughter Israel's neighbors, especially children and babies. Iran helps some groups to defend themselves and liberate their lands. Let us not buy the propaganda and brainwashing that Iran has killed hundreds of thousands or even tens of thousands of Americans. The next person who repeats that lie, let them elaborate and prove it. They need to stop giving Iran, as they say, a basket for carry water, a straw basket with no impermeable inside that would permit the water to stay in. And now remember, I don't necessarily agree. I don't agree with repression of any kind, and I see brutality coming from out of the Iranian regime, which is very sad, because some of those in that regime were victims of the Shah's murderous regime. And don't let anybody sugarcoat that either, with his Savak police. Now, unfortunately, some of what they used back then is exactly what the current government in Iran uses. Now, the American created lawless, barbaric, and terrorist state of Israel gives America cover for its already blown through all red lines, but America still has its own laws to contend with, even though the man with the forked tongue, the pretend fireman and true arsonist, that is Anthony Blinken, that's what he was during that administration, has already broken several of them, including lying to Congress. Result, back again to what I said. Now Europe is reaping what it sowed in enabling the genocide in Gaza and the breaking of ceasefires, saying nothing, breaking all laws, and never holding Israel to account. And like in Nazi Germany, enabling and cajoling the whore of Babylon, the man with the cloaca mouth and the golden calf, but the gold is not real, it's fake. That's according to the description of my guide of the person who sits in the people's house in America, and I'll show you how reincarnation works with that. Now, unfortunately, and they've all, run around with his nonsense and enabled him, and they've got to play nice because, oh my God, he's gonna tweet on us. Well, now they're getting what they sowed. When you get bullies, they should never stand the first chance to do any bullying. Unfortunately, the whole world bear this collective punishment. There are about 7 million Jews in Israel, of whom 90% of them call themselves Zionists, with more than 80% advocating genocide, ethnic cleansing, the starvation, the privation of even babies and children, and the greater Israel. These are facts. Check the polls. Led by a corrupt war criminal, that is Netanyahu, more than 7 billion people in the world must now suffer for the dream of empire of 80% or 90% of the 7 million Israeli Jews who call themselves Zionists, and of course those Zionist zealots, Christian zealots in America, and the technocrats. More than 7 billion people worldwide, hundreds of millions might end up in famine because they can't get fertilizers. So more than 7 billion people will have to suffer to facilitate the dreams and the paranoia of 90% of 7 million people. Think about that. Wrap your head around this. In Jamaica they say, donkey say the world no level and not true. There is no justice in the world. But that is the temporal view, the temporal lens. Spiritually, I know better. once again back to Europe. This is what they sowed or helped to sow. Experience teaches wisdom, they say, but that is too often not so. They are the leaders of these European governments. They are supremacists and supremacist ideology and practices is cannibalistic. They eat their own because of the object of the game is that only one can stand at the end. The importance, I went through all this and I actually did not intend to go in depth like this, but I just got sidetracked, and so I just followed whatever, because I guess it's okay with my guides. The importance of knowing the truth that is reincarnation and this fact is evident there, and now I'm going to show you. If only this knowledge was common, Americans would have known that the felon, convicted fraudster, adjudicated rapist, and alleged pedophile, bigoted entity who does not have the moral turpitude, wherewithal, skill set, discipline, the critical and analytical skill set to do the task that they have given him, not just once but twice. The truth that is reincarnation, if they knew the truth about reincarnation and its facts, they would not have, most of them would not have voted for him, while some would still have voted him in because they too are great miscreants. We're all miscreants, some to a greater, all to a greater or lesser extent. Others would not have basked in the sunlight and taken their liberty for granted and not exercise the one tool, use the one tool they have to safeguard democracy and their liberty, right? To sit at home, not vote, or to cast protest votes. Now, what Joe Biden and his administration did was despicable. And Kamala needed to grow a spine. When it comes to maintaining a democracy and one's liberty, we do not have the luxury of protest votes or no vote. And my 12-year-old son, child after my own heart, he knew that at the age of 12 years old. Had they known that this entity was the Nazi entity Ernst Röhm, they would not now have buyer's remorse and be heading over the precipice into the abyss. They would have known that Hitler, although he was a great miscreant, did not and would never trust Ernst Röhm near the reins of power. Ernst Röhm is the reincarnation, I should say the golden calf, but the gold is not real, it's fake. The man with the cloaca mouth and the whore of Babylon that sits in the people's house in the American Manchurian Regime is the reincarnation of Ernst Röhm. And now remember what I just said, Hitler never trusted him, knew he could never trust him near the reins of power. And why? Although they had been friends for many years, from the beginning, for Hitler, Rome was very good for corralling miscreants to commit illegal acts to get the Nazis in power. But he was lacking in discipline, too much of a narcissist, careless, dare I say, not enough class. He was not a serious individual, and he was given to too many vices. That is one of the reasons he was executed. Indeed, knowledge is power. If only with if, that two-letter word, if, being perhaps one of the, if not the most important words in the English language that augurs so much regret. If, usually, if only, if accompanies regret. That's the companion word of regret. And I don't include only there. Now I've just shown you why the truth that is reincarnation and its facts and knowing the journey of the soul is vital, and how it can help us avoid serious mistakes and dangers about which others warned us. Hitler warned us about Ernst Röhm, and now the world is paying a very, very high price, but providence. Now, as I said, I've spent 46 minutes talking about, well, I didn't intend it to be this long, but anyways, I'm gonna get on now with what. So here we go again, another long video, but you know, you can always pause and go back another day or whatever. Anyhow, we're gonna get into what we should be talking about now, and that is shamans, psychic medium, guides, teachers, and prophets. The difference between them and what exactly they do, and how to know the real ones. Now, what is the difference between a psychic medium and a shaman? I think what I will do here, I am going to actually do another video, part 2, and end it right here. And I normally like to end with this in mind, actually, and I think I will continue that trajectory, because you know, sometimes the things I say are brutal, you know. And you know, thank you once again for visiting my channel. Please share my videos, and some of what I do say, both in the temporal and spiritual lens, are sometimes harsh, and for some, you know, they'll wonder, you're supposed to be talking about understanding and love, but sounds so harsh. So I like to end with this, because remember, now only when we face the truth can we move on. But whatever I say here, and I'm very disturbed sometimes by the actions of my brothers, because we're all brothers in this brotherhood of man. Whatever I say here, it comes from a place of love, because these are messages from the collective, and sometimes, you know, they do give these descriptions that I repeat and whatever, but at the end of the day, it comes from a place of love, and they're exhorting us to try and do better, right? So I like to end my videos like this, always. Hate hitching a ride, hate a contagion, a cancer metastasizing, an opportunistic bacteria, the cloud waiting to block the sun, hate waiting to hitch a ride on the train of love, hate the rat on its rat passage, hitching a ride on the boat to the plague, hate the bedbug waiting for our suitcase, hate the roach riding on our coattails. Hate, the shadow always lurking behind, sometimes longer than us. Hate, just lurking behind the thin curtain, waiting for its turn on center stage to take us to a place not so far away, a blast back from civilization to barbarism, from knowledge back to ignorance, from wisdom back to impudence. Hate never takes a holiday, always looking for the opportunity to hitch a ride on the train of love. Hate inhabits the same house as love within us. None of us is without blemish. All of us live in glass houses. We're all brothers in this brotherhood of man. God, the Creator, that something that is greater than us, has no chosen few. He gave unto us the vehicle that is reincarnation to help bring our souls back into equilibrium. That something that is greater than us is not vindictive, selective, or supremacist in ideology and practices. That something that is greater than us bequeath unto none of us lands. That something that is greater than us would not be so short-sighted, cynical, and cruel, because we know that seas and oceans cover land, they rise and they cover lands. Volcanoes erupt and cover lands with lava and ashes, and earthquakes swallow us and our belongings. No, do not believe anyone who feeds you that Kool-Aid that God gave unto any group or anyone, any parcel of land. Furthermore, we cannot fight for or on behalf of that something that is greater than us, that is arrogant. That something that is greater than us is omnipotent. We're all tenants on this earth, not here to have dominion or to rule over anything or anyone. We're not here to have dominion over the fowl of the air, the fish in the sea, or the beasts in the fields. We're not here to rule and have supremacy over our brothers. So, let us be good tenants. Let us take care of ourselves and each other. Let us trod ever so lightly and take care of this planet we call Earth and all the creatures that dwell thereon. Remember that there is something greater than us. That is the fatherhood of God. The fatherhood of God, sorry about that. And we show and respect, we show our love and respect for that something that is greater than us by taking care of ourselves and each other. May we never try to flee our conscience so that we will always do correct actions. May we learn to walk a mile in our brother's shoes so that we can see the humanity in each other. May we respect the differences in each other and know that our Creator has no chosen few. And may we find comfort in the knowledge that each of us is slated for redemption and none is excluded. May we find solace in the knowledge that it is not a question of if, but one of when each of us shall return to our Father. May we know that we are just tenants on this earth and take care of each other, the earth and all the creatures that dwell thereon. May we adhere to the divine principles of the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man, doing unto others as we would have them do unto us. Love. May we know that which I do unto my brother, I do unto myself, for I am what? I am my brother's keeper. May the tiny shrouds of light forever illuminate our path through the dark. May peace forever reside within us and between us, one divine, universal love.